Squad, how are we all? Hope we are all having a fabulous Tuesday. Just had a few good questions yesterday with the check-ins. Just wanted to run over a couple. Before I get started, but just want to clarify that everyone knows you can do meal swaps on your training plan there, on your nutrition plan. There is a button where you can flick through it and you have several options for your meals. Generally, most people I've put on one or two or three different meals. I just realize now a few people actually didn't know that was an option. So yeah, make sure you're all over that so you're not eating the same meal every day, unless you want to. But one of the questions was about changing training programs. Like, how often should we change programs? And look, the way I like to do it is run a training program for as long as you can, for as long as possible. Now, for every individual, this is going to be different. Some people could just get super bored after 4 weeks, after 6 weeks, after 8 weeks, whatever it may be. But the longer we can run something, the absolute better. If you have a goal to build muscle, to get that lean look, to be toned, those progressions in the gym are everything. It's absolutely everything. Your training performance is what drives muscle growth, nothing else. Nothing else. So, and why it's important to run it for as long as possible, because you got to think, every time we start a new training program, we are resetting ourselves and sort of starting from square one again. Week one on your new training program, you're really just getting used to all the movements. You're definitely not going 100% as hard as you can to failure. Well, you shouldn't. You're just going to be excessively sore, and your technique is not going to be completely dialed in on week one of a program. Even if you've done these lifts before many times over the years, when you go from not doing them for a while to then hitting them again, you're just always going to be a little bit off. So week one, definitely not going to failure. Well, where your muscles could really go. Week two even could be potentially the same case. Like you're definitely making a big leap in your weights for the first few weeks. Like week 1, 2, 3, even 4, you're generally upping the load quite aggressively on the bar or getting more reps quite aggressively. And again, that's because it's taken you a few weeks to really dial in your technique and really fine tune those lifts. So the way I see it is like those first few weeks, yes, we're making progressions on the bar, on the logbook, but it's not really progressions in terms of hypertrophy, in terms of muscle growth. Because those progressions are just because you are getting better and better at the execution of the lift, not from hypertrophy adaptations. And it's not really until we get into those, what I like to call grinder weeks, when, we've made big leaps, we're jumping up 5-10 kilos with the bench press each week, easy as, but then you get to the point, it's like, boom, okay, sticking point. And you may be stuck on the same weight for a week or two, or you can get one extra rep on one set. That's when muscle's really being built, because you are pushing so hard to failure to fight for that progression. That's when you're really making muscle adaptations, muscle growth. Like if you're making massive leaps each week, that's cool on the logbook, but it says the week prior your muscles could have handled way more. They just didn't, because your execution and technique was way more of a priority. It's not until we really slow down and have those like micro progressions is when we're really maximizing muscle growth. So you got to think, if you go week 1, 2, 3, really fine tuning your technique, you're going hard, and then week 4, and then we start a new program again every 4 weeks. Well, you're just resetting yourself. You're finally getting to the place where you can get some really solid, hard sets and hard weeks. And then if you just start a new program, you're just resetting yourself and wasting time, basically. Leaving gains on the table is the way I would say it. So, like I said, because you want to pull the most out of each movement. Like, just get so efficient, so goddamn efficient at each movement. Like, each week you go in, you should be thinking, how can I improve my technique? How can I improve the amount of stimulus I'm getting with this lift? Every fucking set of every workout. That's like the different, like train like a pro. Train like a pro, have the same mentality, because it's not just moving around. If you're not highly like putting full concentration into your lifts, you are 100% not pulling the most out of it. Like it's a lot more difficult than what it looks. That's the difference between the guys that have amazing physiques and don't. You got to concentrate on what you're doing big time and improve that technique is what I'm getting at, and that stimulus quality. Yeah. So that's just what I want to touch on is, it was a good question. how often should we change programs? Short answer is there's no set time. Like I said, I think just pull the most out of the movements you can. Like keep squeezing the bloody juice out of them because you get better and better at that technique. Could be 4 months down the track and you're just friggin' annihilating that movement with quality stimulus. But every single individual is different. I do have to take into account, some people really do get bored pretty quick. But that is just the logic of it. It's like, are we training for? There's a balance in there of enjoyment and actually making progress. But you do want to make sure if you got a goal, like that's what we're there for. Let's do what accommodates to that most of the time, with making sure we enjoy the process. Yeah. So that's question number 1. What were some other ones? Rest times. Cool. So I've had a chat about this before and I've actually chucked up a study. I'll try and find the study, but we have had studies done from comparing the difference between a 1-minute rest time compared to a 3-minute rest time between sets. The 3-minute rest time had about double the amount of muscle growth. Double the amount of muscle growth from going a 1-minute rest time to a 3-minute. That says something. That says, hey, let's lean more towards the longer rest times. You know what I mean? Again, this is the same conversation of, hey, we need to enjoy the process and we need to, make sure we're actually enjoying it and not just doing the one that builds the most muscle, unless, if you're a competitor, you do what's needed to get the result. But we're all lifestyle clients. It's super important you're having fun too. So what that says to me is let's go somewhere in between, around that 2-minute mark, you know what I mean? Just any shorter, and like what's happening is basically form will always break down. Especially if a big compound lift like a squat or something, or a leg press, if you're having 1-minute rest, your sets are shit. That's point blank. Like you should be pretty absolutely annihilated after a set of squats or a leg press. If you're getting off it and just not gassed, we need to go harder. You know what I mean? So like I said, if you're doing a 1-minute rest, well, either your sets aren't hard or they were hard, and you're going into that second set after 1-minute rest, puffing and huffing, and your form's going to break down, or you're just not going to get through the set and be able to go to muscular failure. You're actually just going to gas out because your sets are just too quick and you need recovery. And the goal isn't to gas out. The goal is to take those muscles to mechanical failure. Like you don't want anything else to become the limiting factor besides the muscle actually failing. So that's why those longer rest times are better. Technique breakdown on really short rest times, as well as we just want to be recovered enough so we can actually drive progressive overload. So we can be, let the muscles recover a bit so then they can go as hard as they can on that second, third or fourth set. Again, if we're just going set after set with 1-minute rest, things like this, it may feel cool, like intense pump, but that pump isn't what drives muscle growth. You know what I mean? Like, of course you're gonna have a crazy pump, but for the majority of our sets, we want to have quality rest and make sure we are setting ourselves up proper technique, well recovered, and striving for progressive overload. Really quality sets. That's the basis of it. Yeah, that's the majority of our sets should be set up like that. Okay. Yes, this is a good one. So your body weight going up on the scales after having a change of food. So a different meal type. Now, even if the calories are the same, so with client this week, we went from having a meal, whatever it was, and then for dinner, and then we've swapped to a different style of meal. And we noticed the scale went up the next day. Could have just been a fluctuation, but this can be quite common because different food types are going to make us hold a bit more water. And like I said, it could be the same calories, but the new meal you had could have had, a lot more veggies, just sheer volume. It's like going from, let's say, a steak and rice to a steak and spud light potato, the low calorie potato where you get, say, 100 grams of rice will be the same calories as like 250 grams of spud light potato. Well, that in just sheer weight, 100 grams worth of 250 is sitting in your tummy. The spud light potato is going to make you way heavier. It's going to make you way heavier on the scales, just from the weight of the food. The calories are the same, but the weight of the food. Another thing could be going from like a steak to a taco seasoning mince, something like this, where high in sodium, fine to have, but it just might be a little bit more high in sodium to the meal you were having prior. And that sodium just makes us hold a little bit more water, and so the next day, just a bit heavier on the scales. Same with even cracking extra salt on your meals through that day. Again, pink salt's fine, but you may have 6 cracks on your meals one day and then friggin' 12 cracks the next day, holding a bit more water. Even just drinking extra water the day before or the night before. If you drink an extra 500 mils of water, you may be weighing an extra 500 grams the next day. So things like this, just super important to keep an eye on. That's why it's like super important to weigh ourselves each day, but understanding the scale. You need to understand it. And it's just a tool to give us a guideline. And it's a good learning curve when you have that happen. Yeah, oh, why'd I fluctuate? And then you have to think, what happened yesterday that was different today? Could have been nothing. Sometimes the body will just fluctuate. But, oh, I did have a different meal, or I did have a bit more volume in it, didn't it? Or maybe it had more sodium, things like this. And it's a cool recognition to, so it's okay that the scale fluctuates at times. Just from food types. It's not body fat. You're not, just on that too, if you had even a high calorie dense meal for dinner, like super high calories, blew the budget, you may not even store body fat, period, but you're not storing body fat by the next morning. Your weight would be up, but you're not storing body fat that quickly, you know. So just always be aware of that. It's generally just food weight, water weight, things like this. Or maybe your digestion just is a bit slower. You haven't gone to the bathroom, things like that, you know. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's leave it at that. Hope you guys got some value. So firstly, remember, you can swap meals. There is a button on the app to do that. If you can't find it, let me know. But I'm pretty sure for nearly everyone, you should have at least 2 options on your meals. Maybe 1 or 2 if you don't. When to change programs, run it for as long as you can. And don't ever be afraid to say, hey, Jace, I want to change a program. But try to squeeze the most out of it. Try to squeeze the absolute most out of it. And don't just stop a program when we aren't making massive leaps and bounds in progressions. Wait until you have solid grinder fucking weeks of like maybe only 2 exercises in that day you made progressions on 1 set. You know what I mean? That's still progressions. That's still progressions. And just on that, actually, before I go, why it's super important to standardize your form. So important, because it makes progression so measurable. It makes progression so goddamn measurable. Standardize your form, I mean, the goal should be every single rep of every single set is exact same. Whether you're going super heavy, super light, you standardize that goddamn form for yourself. Just have a standard that you set. And what I mean is like really the tempo and the control. Because if you can standardize your form this week and you get 10 reps of 100 kilo bench press, whatever it is, and then the next week you come in and you shoot for the 100 kilos again, but you keep this, you know the form's exact same. It's the same standard of form, and you get 12 reps this time, you know that's a guaranteed progress of 2 reps because every rep was the same and you increased by 2. But if you come in one week and you're nice and slow, and then the next week you're super quick, bouncing shit around and a bit sloppy, if you're doing that week to week exercise to exercise, well, how are you meant to track progress? Because maybe you got more reps this week, but your form was quicker. Your reps were half the speed, or twice the speed, I should say, sorry. Half the speed, yeah. Twice as quick. So then, did you really progress, or did you just do quicker reps? Did you actually put extra stress on the chest, or did you just tell yourself you did mentally because you did more weight or more reps, but you just cheated. You just did quicker reps this week. So it's like, especially when we're making low jumps, this is super common. If you're going for 100 kilo bench press for 10 reps, next week, hey, let's go 110. Oh shit, that's gonna be a bit heavy. I'm scared. I wanna get 10 reps of that again this week. So that's a progression, but fuck it, I'm just gonna bounce it off my chest. Boom, hell yeah, I did an extra 10 kilos and got the same amount of reps as last week. That's not progression if you did shittier reps. It's not a progression. So it's like, if you make the jump, 110 kilo bench press, keep the same reps that you did for the lighter weight. The same quality. It doesn't matter if you only get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reps, whatever you get. That's how you measure progress, because I kept the reps the same. I fell short of the rep target, but I'm just going to continue to keep those same quality reps and work my way into that rep target. Doesn't matter. You're better off falling short with quality reps than just cheating your way into a higher rep target that you're shooting for. Yeah. Cool. All right, squad. Enjoy your afternoon.